Okay, welcome back, and in this video I'm going to show you how to bind, in this case I'm using an AR 7610 receiver, could be an AR 6210, I'm using the AR 7610 because that's what I got right now, and the TM1000 module. Okay, so the TM1000 is telemetry, this is the receiver. And with the telemetry module came a bag of wires, and out of that bag you need just one wire. Okay, it's the one wire that has a JR connector on one end and a tiny little white connector on the other end. And that tiny little white connector is directional when you put it in. So on here you can see on this side it says data. Okay, so it's going to go in the data port, and as the wires are toward the top, and so that you can only plug it in one direction. Okay, and there you can see the red wire is toward the center of the module, and this is going to go into the data bind port of the receiver. So that's why they call it bind data port, is because when you use telemetry, that port is where the TM1000 module fits. Okay, so now that that's in, how do you bind it? Okay, well that's why we have the switch. Okay, and I'll explain. So in this other bag of goodies here, you'll find a black little thing. Looks like this. It's a little pointer, sharp, not sharp, but a blunt little pointer. Okay, and that little pointer is going to press in that little button on the side of the TM1000 module. Okay, and when you press that in, as you hold and press that button in as you turn it on, and it puts it all in bind mode. Puts the TM1000 in bind mode and the receiver in bind mode. So how do you press and hold and turn on at the same time? Well, you have a little switch here, and it really helps. So I got the switch in the off position. Okay, I'm going to hook to the on side of the switch the battery. Wait a minute. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going to the off side of the switch. I'm going to hook the battery. Okay. Make sure black is to black, and put that in. Okay. So now the battery is on one of the two wires on the off side of the switch. So when I flip the switch on, the on side of the switch will power the receiver. Now, it doesn't matter which port on the receiver you use. In this case, I'm going to use the gear channel. So plug the on side of the switch into the gear channel, because you can't put it in the battery channel. Bind data channel, which you might have done in the past. Okay, so now I have my transmitter standing by. I've already made sure that it's on the right model, and so I'm going to set all this up here. Okay, so I'm going to stand this up on. This is the. Let me move back out here so you can see it a little better. Okay, so this is the TM1000 with the little switch that I'm going to hit with this little blunt instrument, and while I'm holding this with these fingers, I'm going to use my index finger to turn it on. So I'm going to hold this, I'm going to turn it on with that finger as I press the button, and as soon as I do that, you'll see both of these start flashing. If it doesn't start flashing, start over. So I'm going to hold it down, start up, and hold it down, turn it on, let go, grab this, walk away far enough. I like to walk away at least 3 feet. Hold the bind button down on the transmitter while I turn it on, and everything should be bound. and you will probably hear this thing speak, say binding DSMX 22 milliseconds telemetry. Then we know everything worked. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to push this down, turn that on. Everybody is flashing. Get over here at 3 feet, turn this on with the bind button down.
Binding DSMX 22 milliseconds telemetry, flight pack, no data, flight pack 0.0 volts, normal mode.
And we're bound. So the next thing I like to do is turn it off. Turn this off. And I'm going to go be right back. I'm going to grab a servo and test to make sure everything's working. Be right back. Okay, I'm back and I've got my throttle servo. Now there's one thing about the throttle servo you need to know. In my case, the way I mount it, the throttle servo needs to be reversed. And it depends upon how you mount the throttle servo, whether it needs to be reversed or not. And what kind of servo it is. But for the high-tech servo, and the way I mount it, it needs to be reversed. Because I copied the program from my first NexStar to my second NexStar, this is what I call NexStar number 2. I'll probably paint a big 2 on it somewhere. It was already reversed. If you need to be reversed and it's not reversed when you bound it, you're going to have to bind it again. So determine through trial and error or whatever, before you bind the TM1000 module, whether in fact this throttle servo needs to reverse. Because if it needs to be reversed, you have to rebind. Because mine is already reversed and I just bound it, everything's fine. So now, I'm going to plug the throttle servo in, which is right next to the data bind port. And the throttle servo doesn't have its arm on it yet, but that's okay. It's got a little white arm there, and you'll listen or hear it, see it move. Okay, so I'm going to turn the radio on. Okay. Radio's on, turn this on. And everything is golden.
Flight pack, no data, flight pack 0.0 volts.
Okay, so now oh yes. I haven't plugged the module in. Let me do that. I'm going to stop for a minute and show you how to make sure that the voltage is reading on this. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and in the completion guide I said to buy one of these, which is a telemetry sensor, and it's 2 JR connectors with the white wire in between. So let me show you what that looks like. And so you got, a male end and a female end of the JR connector, and you got this tiny little white connector here, and that goes on the TM1000. In the middle port of the 3 ports of the TM1000, again directional in that the red and black wire ought to be the same as red and black wire on the data channel. Okay, so now instead of plugging the on switch into the receiver, okay, so the battery is still connected to the off side of the switch. Now the on side of the switch is going to plug into this sensor, telemetry sensor, on one end, and make sure that's black to black, and then on the other end, that is going to power the receiver through the, in this case, the gear channel, because we don't have a gear on this. Retractable gear anyways. So I'm going to use the gear channel to plug the telemetry module sensor into the gear channel. Okay. And then I'm going to turn everything back on again. Radio's on, let it warm up. And turn the airplane on. Everything's golden.
Flight pack, no data.
It says flight pack, no data on the first go around, but if you now you can flip this over to a screen that says telemetry. And there's where it says telemetry. The voltage is 6.3 volts on this battery pack. 6.3 is not very good. I would hope it to be 6.8 or 9. This one had been a while since it's been charged, and but that's okay. We're not ready to fly yet, so I'm going to make sure I charge that before we go. So telemetry is working, and then let's see if throttle's working. There's the throttle servo. Okay, throttle servo is working. And I can tell by the way I mounted it, it is reversed, and that'll work. So, telemetry and receiver are bound together with the radio. Throttle is working in reverse. And there it just told me every minute the telemetry. Let me show you the telemetry programming here. I have it set up so if you go into set up here and go down to where it says telemetry, you'll see that the first one says volts. Okay, number one says volts. You click on volts twice, and I have an alarm for if the volts drop below 5, give me a voice alarm. And then down here at the bottom it says status report every 60 seconds. So every 60 seconds the telemetry,
Flight pack 6.3 volts.
there it is, flight pack 6.3 volts. So every 60 seconds it's going to tell me the voltage of the flight pack, which is very handy so you don't lose your airplane when your battery gets low. So everything's bound, good to go. Thank you.